In recent months, protests have erupted across the country, igniting fierce debates and drawing attention from local and international media. The catalyst for these movements has varied but often centers around calls for social justice, economic reforms, and governmental accountability. From major cities to small towns, demonstrators of all ages and backgrounds have taken to the streets, showcasing the intensity and widespread nature of discontent. These protests are not merely isolated events, they connect a myriad of voices demanding change, making it a pivotal moment in the nation's history. Recently, actions by prominent figures like Donald Trump and Elon Musk have sparked significant public outrage. Trump's divisive political statements and provocative social media posts have rekindled debates around freedom of speech versus accountability. Meanwhile, Musk's controversial decisions regarding Twitter's content moderation policies and platform changes have led to widespread criticism over misinformation and platform safety. Together, these developments reflect a growing societal frustration with the implications of their actions on democracy and public discourse, igniting protests and calls for greater responsibility among influential leaders. In recent weeks, protests have sparked a wave of public sentiment that varies significantly across different demographics and regions. To capture the essence of these diverse opinions, we conducted interviews with participants and bystanders, revealing a spectrum of sentiments ranging from support and hope to frustration and despair. Additionally, social media reactions have flooded platforms like Twitter and Instagram, showcasing both solidarity with the protesters and criticism of their methods. This duality illustrates how public sentiment can be fragmented and is heavily influenced by personal experiences, media representations, and socio-political contexts. The primary grievances leading to protests often stem from a combination of political oppression, economic inequality, and social injustices. Protesters frequently voice their frustration over government corruption, lack of representation, and systemic discrimination. These issues not only highlight the immediate desires for change but also reflect deeper societal and political crises that resonate across generations. The implications are far-reaching, as protests can catalyze significant shifts in policy, inspire solidarity among diverse groups, and challenge the status quo, ultimately aiming for a more just and equitable society. Protest demographics reveal a diverse array of participants, including age, gender, socioeconomic status, and cultural backgrounds. Often, younger generations lead initiatives, driven by a sense of urgency for social justice and climate action. Common threads that unite these groups include shared values of equality, justice, and a desire for systemic change. Solidarity around pivotal issues fosters a sense of community among protesters, showcasing a collective movement towards a common goal. The recent wave of protests has significantly impacted local and national politics by amplifying citizens' voices and pressing demands for policy changes. Demonstrators are not only highlighting social justice issues but also reshaping the political landscape as elected officials respond to the mounting pressure. Local governments are often compelled to address community concerns more directly, while on a national scale, these movements can lead to shifts in party platforms and influence election outcomes. As the discourse around these protests continues to evolve, we can expect an ongoing dialogue around accountability and representation in the political arena. In the heart of the protest, individual stories are the driving force behind the collective movement. Each participant brings a unique motivation, whether it be the fight for justice, personal loss, or a desire for change. Their voices tell tales of resilience, hope, and the urgent need for societal transformation. As we spotlight these personal stories, we uncover the emotions that fuel their passion and commitment, reminding us that every person in the crowd carries a narrative worthy of recognition. By highlighting these voices, we humanize the movement, offering a deeper understanding of what it means to stand up and be counted. Recent protests in the U.S. have shown some striking similarities to historical protests, particularly in their calls for social justice and systemic change. For instance, the Black Lives Matter movement echoes the civil rights movement of the 1960s, where both movements sought to address racial injustice and inequity. Likewise, the environmental protests of today can be compared with the anti-war protests during the Vietnam War era, highlighting public demand for accountable governance. Analyzing these parallels can provide deeper insights into the persistent issues faced by marginalized communities and how activism evolves over time to adapt to new challenges while learning from past struggles. The recent protests could indicate a significant shift in voter sentiment leading up to the upcoming elections. As citizens passionately voice their concerns about critical issues such as social justice, economic inequality, and climate change, political candidates may need to adapt their platforms to resonate with this growing activist base. The protests not only reflect public dissatisfaction but also serve as a call to action for engaged constituencies, potentially translating into higher voter turnout. This change in political climate could favor candidates who prioritize grassroots movements and address the needs of their constituents, ushering in a new era of accountability and reform in governance. In conclusion, the protests serve as a powerful reminder of the collective voice of the people. They highlight key issues that resonate deeply within communities, such as social justice, accountability, and the demand for systemic change. The overarching message is clear: citizens are united in their resolve to advocate for their rights and demand action from those in power. This movement represents not just a moment in time, but a significant shift towards a more equitable society where every individual's voice matters.